Hi and welcome to yet another screencast in the Creating Sample Sets for GrandOrgue series. This time I will make a first test organ out of the samples we have prepared so far. In the last screencast I added metadata, let's say loops, cues, and such, and checked that they were working okay. But now I need to test this in GrandOrgue, and for that I will need to create an organ file for this sample set. For that I will use GeoODF, and I first select where I want to have the organ file, and I give it a name, and I say my chamber organ, like that. And I just say the same here. Well, I put some data here. And this is of course not not that important really. The important fields are the name of the organ, or actually first the position where you want the organ file to be, the name of the organ file, and the church name. The address will also be used, and a few of these fields will be displayed in GrandOrgue, but they really doesn't matter all that much. So, but to begin with, we need to have a plan. So I will have just one manual here, nothing else, but I will create two wind chests for this organ. And this is because I have one XY wind chest, that is the microphone position, remember, and I will have an AB wind chest. Okay, so this is just to make it convenient for the user to kind of mute the whole selection of samples for each wind chest if they want to, or balance the sound between them. It is not really correct in model wise, since there is only one wind chest and these are kind of two perspectives of one and the same wind chest. So one should name it in some way that is understandable for the user. Okay, so we will have one manual, and in this case it actually has 45 keys and starts at 36, and I will add the MIDI input number to 2 so that it will be auto-detected as the first manual in GrandOrgue. And then we have 4 stops, but in 2 perspectives, so I will actually add 8 stops. There are many ways to do this, so this is just one possible way. So I will do it like that, and I will name it Gedacht 8 foot XY. And I will actually do it like this. And then we have rörflöjt 4. And we have a principal 2. And we have a sieve flöjt 1. And then I will repeat the exact same thing, but for the AB version or perspective. If you don't have a surround sample set, then this wouldn't be a problem at all. But now it is what it is. But then again, I don't want the user to see that there are 2 different controls or 2 different stop knobs to pull. So I will actually create switches to activate these draw stops instead. And they will just have the name of the stop. And these are the ones that the user actually will interact with. Oh. And then I need to say here that this stop will be activated by this switch. And it will actually be the same for this one. And for the rörflöjt, it will be like this. Huh. Yeah, it's easy to make mistakes, so be careful. And double check your work. So, gedakt rörflöjt. And then I need to check principal, sievflöjt, gedakt rörflöjt, principal, sievflöjt. So, that should be okay. So now we will add the pipes, and I will actually create 54 of them, even though I have only sampled 5, but they will be put in the correct position anyway. So, and the other will be just mute. So I select, this is the XY gedakt, and I add it like this. I should have checked first that these are okay, but they seem to be. So that's okay. I'll proceed. XY still 54, and this is 16 as it is 4-foot stop. And I create from pipes XY rörflöjt like so. XY 54. I add XY like so, and oh shit, this is 32 actually to be a 2-foot, and then XY 54, and this is 64 to be a 1-foot, and we add the pipes for it. like so. And we can just check that, okay, these are dummy pipes until here we have the 48th as the 13th pipe, the little c. So it seems sensible. Everything is on a windchest, yes. So I repeat the same process for the AB. 8, create, pipes, AB, conduct, like so. AB. This is a 4-foot. And I forgot to add pipes enough. Okay, so AB. This is a 2-foot. And here is the 1-foot finally. So at this moment we should actually have everything necessary, except that we need to create some kind of display for this so that we can interact with it. So for the main panel, I will first go to the display metrics and choose something that seems to be sensible. Perhaps this is best matching. And then we have slightly darker. This will of course be replaced later by real photographic versions, but that will come later. This is just for testing actually. But we will build on this ODF later, so we should get it fairly okay anyway. So now we'll add the elements we want, and we want the manual to be visible, and we want the switches to be visible. So I'll add them to this panel, and yeah, the key color is inverted, and I want to have the second type like that. And here I will configure the first of the draw stops in some way. Yeah, perhaps it's still okay with a default. We can test the second anyway. And when this is set like we want them to, I will copy them to all the other selected stops, and we can have a check here because we need to say that there are 4 draw stop rows, and this is at 1 1. Yes, this should be at row 2, row 3, and row 4. Okay, so main panel, can have a look how it looks. Okay, like that. We should actually have a swell pedal too, and we should adjust the breaking point so that these look sane, like so perhaps. so that we will have the number below the text. Okay, and then we should have the enclosure, yes. So one enclosure. Okay, like so. And I need to tell the winches that they are affected by this enclosure. Like so. And finally, we should add these switches for the manual. Like so. And now we should be more or less ready to go. As a first. No, of course, we need to display this enclosure here. And let's style that something like this. And I want text break width of 0 to remove the text from the swell pedal. And now we should have it there. Okay, so that should be good to go now. So I just save it by writing it. And now we can proceed with the actual checking of our work by loading or opening rather this organ file in GrandOrgue. So it's here. And the keyboard is automatically working, but we have no sound since we haven't put any stops on. So I will test them one at a time. Playing staccato, playing longer. Seems to be working fairly okay. There is one bubble somewhere in there, but this is more of a lesson than a finished product anyway. Seems to be responding okay, so yeah, there is something in the release there that sounds a bit off, but it's working at least. So here we have a click in the loop, actually. But since I have two perspectives, I cannot really tell which one is causing this issue. So I will go into the organ settings, and here we see the winches. So I will just blank out one of them for now so that I only hear the samples from the XY at the moment. Yeah, and this seems to have an issue with the loops. So it is the C sharp for the sieve flute. And what I will do then is to go back. I will just close this for now. It seems to be working pretty okay. I can just check that. Yeah, seems to be working fine. So I will just close this and close the organ for now. And I don't want to save anything until the organ is fully finished. But I will go into the loop auditioner again. And I will go to the sieve flute for XY. And it was the C sharp that had some issues. So yeah, there is a little click actually here, so perhaps I should remove that loop. It is reasonably faint, and actually it seems to be a pretty good match in the loop. So I'll check the other file. Yeah, this is much worse. So I will actually remove that loop instead and save this file like so. And then what I can do is to, if I'm worried about this clicking in the samples, even though I have it pretty well here, I can try to add a crossfade for that attack. So I will do that actually here and set a crossfade length for this about, say, 12 milliseconds or so. And I do the same for, oh, I'm actually on the wrong pipe. So we remove that, and it was the C sharp here. And this is set actually per attack. So I could customize it for each and every one of them. So now that is set, and I can verify it that it's set to 12. And then I go to save that. So that is one option if you have examined the loops and they seem to be pretty okay, but still give some issues. You can use the GrandOrgue crossfade option to kind of fix that. And then we can test it here. My chamber organ here. And of course, there can be a problem in the AB because now we have both of them active. So these are kind of mistakes that you'll make. I can promise you that. So just to be sure, I will mute the AB, since I have worked on the XY and only want to test them at the moment. So now the click should be gone, otherwise we have some other issue. And indeed it is gone. So now we know that we have an issue in the AB version of the Sieveflate 2. So back to it again, we close this down. And I don't want to save anything. Back to loop auditioner. And this time it is the AB version instead I will look at. And I will review the loops again. Yeah, there is a little click there. It is fairly subtle and not that bad really, but there is still a little click. I'll check the other two. Okay, here. That is very audible. And this too. And this too. Funny, they seem pretty okay, all these. And still we have some clicks going on. So what I will do is the same thing I did before and go into GrandOrgue instead. I could also have crossfaded these loops, but actually I prefer to not destroy the wave data that much. So I will do it by adding it to the AB version here in the organ file instead. So I will add a crossfade here and to the next attack too, like so. And we can verify that it's there. Sure, it is. So now we save this and test it out in GrandOrgue and see if it's finally working as it should. Okay, so . Yeah, seems to be actually working. And one other thing I also test always, of course, for every pipe I will do exactly what I did right now. So it takes some time, but I won't show you that now. But what I will show you is that I will test the temperaments too, so that I have an idea if the embedded pitch actually is working as it should. So I've selected equal temperament, and I'll just add all the stops to begin with. And there is a slight waving here. That is better. Here is a slight waving. And again, I need to check which of the versions that causes the problem. So I will blank out the AB once again. So the XY is actually pretty good. So it is the AB that is causing the issue, and I can test it out by reversing this and blanking out the XY. And yes, sure enough. And then the next thing is, yeah, mostly it is here. Which of the stops is causing this? I will just check out by removing. And it was, as I expected, the 2-foot principle that is causing this issue. So the pitch info is not quite right for this pipe of the principle 2. So how to correct that? We'll just do the same thing. We close this down, and we remember that it is the AB. I should actually check all of them. So these are very much the same. But it differs from this one. The question is which is more correct, and I can also check it like this. And this is funnily enough in between them. So just for the sake of it, I will go with the HPS instead, harmonic power spectrum, and see if this makes a difference for it. So now it's changed, and I will do the same for this. And it differs a little bit. You can see that. So, but that doesn't matter that much. And just for fun, I can have a look what is the values of the XY version of this. And you see that they are much closer to the newly detected values. So likely it should be okay now. But we need to test it. So open GrandOrgue again and open the file. And we put on the temperament equal all the stops. Yes, it is much better now. It is much better. So that is the way to kind of correct things. And it's a repetitive process that you have to work with. Testing things and going back to processing the samples. Make corrections where you think it's necessary so that you have a working and of course nothing outside these samples are actually playing anything, since there are only dummy pipes. But that's okay, and there are ways to fill that in, but this, remember, is just to show you how to do things. You have to multiply the work here by each pipe, basically, you add. Each new key you add will be more work for you to process. So that is it for this screencast though, and I hope to see you in future screencasts, and thank you for watching this. Bye!